Cheers.
Ooh. That is very delicious.
Oh, it just gave me the chills. It's a good Chianti, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the backyard here in Redondo Beach at Judy Limon's house.
Hello and welcome to my lovely little house in Redondo Beach where all of you are welcomed to come in.
And Judy and I, we have been friends for a while, and we also became collaborators for a film called Hurricane Jolie and a lot of our own social media, and we've had a good ride.
I think so. I mean, you know, a lot of things have stopped because of this whole pandemic, so it's kind of put a halt in our plans of what we wanted to do with this film, but all in all,
yeah,
I feel like this film needs to be captivated again.
Right. And for those of you who haven't seen Hurricane Jolie, you might, you will. It is inevitable.
It is inevitable. It is inevitable.
Judy, I'm really excited to see you because I haven't seen you in 15 months.
I can't believe it's been 15 months.
15 months. The last time I saw you, we were in a movie theater with our film, Hurricane Jolie, playing on the big screen for an audience here in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And how were you feeling that night when we last saw each other?
I mean, it was literally unbelievable to know that there was a film that we actually worked so hard on the big screen. So it felt really incredible. I was on another high, but also too, what comes to mind is how much work we put into it and how I've almost forgotten certain things that you were reminding me of today when we were having dinner.
Oh yeah, well, we've had some good adventures.
Yes, we've had some really good adventures, in which case it's just so trippy to think of all the time that has gone by.
Right. And just so you guys know, if you guys haven't heard the first episode with Judy and I met 6 years ago now.
6 years ago?
Yeah, in 2015.
Oh, wow.
At a Super Bowl party that we were both invited to.
Jesse invited me, who's my long life friend, almost like my brother, who I've known since I was 12, a long time.
And Mateo invited me, who I've known for a long time as well. And it was a party that I really wasn't going to go to, but I happened to live around the block, so.
And I had just dropped down on a flight from New York and decided, fuck it, I'll go and I'll go hang out with Jesse. I haven't seen him in forever. And I was back and forth from New York, Miami, LA, and I had just happened to be there. And if I would have never shown up that day, I wouldn't be here today. That's so crazy.
We wouldn't be here tonight.
Yeah, none of this would have happened.
You know what's really interesting is I was thinking about that winter right before that springtime, and when I first met you, I was going through a lot of change. And
it's inevitable.
The change was so impactful that I ended up relocating to a different city, a different state. And it was, I was a little heartbroken because of, personal things, but
a girl.
But I remember it was one of those experiences that I was like, oh God, I don't want you to know me right now, Judy, because this is not the real me. This is me in transition, dealing with stuff, my shadow work.
That's very interesting.
And so I feel that even though we met here in California, I feel that our bond really was born in Florida, on the beaches of Miami.
Well, I found it very interesting right now when you just said that you were in transition, as if being in transition is not the real you. That is a part of who you are. That is the real you.
I agree. It is the real me.
And the transition also was occurring when you were going to Miami too. That was a major part of your transition.
Right, but I feel like, you know, since I had just met you, like when we first meet people that are really interesting and it's exciting and we want to show our best selves, right? Where it's like, ta-da! This
Here's
is
my
me.
pretty face.
Like,
here's my pretty
look
outfit.
At perfection, right? Because you know I live with a lot of shame, and I didn't really want you to see me that way. Where I was like, the foundations of my own psyche are breaking like tectonic plates in an earthquake. Like I was really going through it at the time, and the fact that you allowed me to feel safe with my vulnerability in your hands really was a forecast of the friendship we were going to have.
Well, I just want you to know that you can come to me for anything.
Oh yeah, high five with the glass.
High five with the glass.
Hi glass.
Hi glass. Chianti glass.
We got helicopters flying around. Mm-hmm. It's not California if you don't hear helicopters.
We're on the beach. So there's a lot of helicopters that fly around here. They overlook the ocean and stuff like that. So sorry about that, guys. Beach living.
But I like the sound of the helicopter and the wood burning. You know, it gives the sounds.
Yeah, we just can't hear the waves crashing. That's all.
That's true.
Because in Redondo, in the Round Beach, in Round Beach, you literally don't get a lot of waves. It's very rare that you actually get any waves.
But do they call it Redondo because like the beachhead is like round?
Yeah, because Palos Verdes is like the area where it really comes out a lot. So then it comes out so much
it's like
that it looks like a cove and it's round. So that's what they call it. I would say from where you could see from the pier, you could see how it like curves around. It's
you know, when
so
you think of the beaches here in Los Angeles,
mm-hmm.
they're pretty much mostly in Spanish, right?
Except for Huntington.
Well,
and what about Manhattan?
Well, that's true, but I guess some of the like.
But the majority of them.
The majority of them, but like Hermosa Beach, right?
Right, Hermosa,
well,
Redondo,
when you start translating
Palos Verdes.
When you start translating the beach names here in LA, they sound funny and interesting. Like Playa Larga.
Oh yeah.
Long Beach.
And it's like somebody just looked at it and just said, "That beach looks round. We'll call it the Round Beach."
And this
beach looks long.
We'll call it Long Beach.
And this is just Hermosa.
Exactly. So I feel like when the conquistadors came and they were like, "Oh my God, mira esa playa está bien larga." Well, they didn't really speak like that. They were like, "Mira esa playa está bien larga."
Esas playas.
Es que esa playa, tío, está bien.
Es que tío, de veras.
Es que la hostia está muy larga.
Vosotros. I mean, sorry. It's okay. I could do that. I have family from Spain. Cheers again.
High glass.
High glass.
But what I find interesting about seeing you right now, again during this spring equinox, right? Oh, the pandemic, yeah, that too. But the spring equinox, where it's like we're on the advent of change once again.
Yes.
Right? Personally.
Yes.
And I've been really going through it these last few months.
Talk to me.
Oh, I talk with my hands. I see.
I just go like this. Wah, 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 wah.
No, but I've been really going through it because there's been a shift. My grandfather died.
I'm sorry, baby.
And I surrendered the keys to my apartment this last week. An apartment that I've lived in for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So it was really difficult giving up my apartment. But I felt that it was necessary so that future me could be challenged and step out of the comfort zone and gain more knowledge and more experience living, even if it's the place next door, and flexing my brain muscles and figuring out this puzzle of life. And it's been really challenging because I wasn't really ready for this change. I really did not initiate this change, right? There was reasons I had to leave my apartment. There were some things that really just needed to be addressed, and renovations, the building's being sold, and it really put me on this path to accelerate my exit, but I really wasn't prepared for this change.
Sounds like a forced transition. Like the think about it like this. The metaphor of the building needing upgrades.
Right.
The metaphor of the building needing to be sold. You know?
And
then what does that say about you and your attachment to this moment in time that is now lost forever?
But I get attached pretty quickly. What I have a challenge with is detaching. I'm a slow Band-Aid ripper.
I'm like,
I'm not a fast Band-Aid ripper. I'm not swift like that because, I feel the pain of that is a little too rushed to the face, but I feel the slow pull hurts even more, but the pain is more in the gut, right?
well, they say that your gut is your first brain.
Really? Well, I believe that because all of our...
I mean, as we evolved as humans,
Right.
that was the first.
Yeah, they say follow your gut.
Yeah, they say follow your gut, and there's a
Because-
reason for that.
And I feel that because
Follow your gut. It makes sense,
we have
doesn't it?
physiological responses to our brain chemistry when we experience pleasure and stressors. And all that physiology really just goes through the center of our body.
And
Like,
and
our
you know,
abdomen is like the strongest part of our body.
and you know how sometimes people tell you that you're supposed to not only follow your gut, but like you feel drained by somebody or you feel energized by them or any of that.
Right.
That's also something very interesting too, because not only are you supposed to follow your gut, but you're also supposed to follow the way that you feel when you're around people, because people can either take away or give you energy. And for me, that is something that I learned called mirrored neurons. We're like all the time giving off little neuron electrical outlets to our brains that is allowing us to release chemicals that do certain things for us. This one in particular is like you and me hanging out. We vibe off of each other. We don't feel like we're draining each other's energy. We have good mirrored neurons
And
together.
I wonder if that's what people feel when they say it was love at first sight. Was it really love at first sight,
or was it the chemicals that were
chemicals
being released in your brain?
Right. It's like, are these endorphins that are like shooting through my brain?
Exactly.
And the physiological response throughout my body and my gut.
Yeah.
When I first met you, like I was all about you when I first met you. I was like, who is this?
Who this be?
Who this be? Let's go get some $75 brunch, right? I was like, yo, on me, yo quiero comer, because my brain is my second gut. I mean, my gut is my second brain.
There you go.
There you go.
Actually,
I'm here all
that's a
night.
Freudian slip.
Exactly.
My brain is my second gut.
All I know is
Ching.
high glass. All I know is the bigger the. Wait, hold on, let me adjust this sound. The bigger the chance, what is it? The bigger
The cops are coming. The cops are coming.
Oh, the cops are coming. The bigger the panza, the bigger
Yeah.
the bigger the panza, the bigger the chanza.
I feel like the bigger the panza, the bigger the chanza.
Exactly.
I like it.
But this is why I really love seeing you today, because it
Yeah.
echoed
Oh.
the same season. Remember, I moved to Miami at this particular same week. I left in the final week of March to
wow.
Miami 6 years ago, and it was the last time I ever lived in Miami after living there 5 springs in a row. But this time, I didn't want to go because I was like, oh my God, I live in LA, Los Feliz, and this Italian girl, I don't want to leave. Like, and I left, and when I went to Miami,
Don't
I
make
was,
fun of yourself like that.
well, how am I supposed to make fun of myself? Like, oh my God, this girl was like, and then I was heartbroken. And it's like, oh, I live in Los Feliz. You know, it's like, I can't, Goosey sad.
Goosey sad.
Goosey sad. No,
Goosey no happy.
But going to Miami, oh man, like
Yeah.
going to Miami
That was so
it was
cool.
hard. Like getting on that plane and leaving sucked because it really ripped me away from my comfort zone, and I didn't want to go because I wanted this life, but I didn't really realize the fun I was going to have in Miami, the extraordinary
We did
spring break.
so much in Miami.
Yeah, it was intense. It was so cool.
So what I think you're saying is that you really felt like a Debbie Downer And then all of
I
a
know a girl
sudden,
named Debbie, so I don't want to like,
oh, sorry.
stain her name.
Yeah, I have a cousin named Debbie.
It's
So,
like, imagine all the girls that are named Karen right now. It's like, ugh.
oh, I know. I feel so bad for like Debbies and Karens.
Because, if I was a Debbie or a Karen, I'd be like, don't call me that shit. Right?
Motherfucker. I'll cut you.
That's why I'd rather be a goofy goose.
I'd rather be a Judy Booty.
Right? That's better than judgmental Judy.
Oh, God, no. I'm not judgmental at all. I don't judge people. I hate it when people judge me. Oh. Okay, so we're talking about you going through these transitions.
Yes.
About how it is that you have to finally accept what's happening in your changing of life,
Right, but not
which is
only-
inevitable.
Right. But not only like accepting, but also participating in the waves of change. Because I feel that...
And going through it and not trying to get over it.
Right. I don't
Do you know
want to
what I
get
mean?
over it
Yeah.
because it's like I feel like getting over it is a form of repression.
Yes,
And
you're repressing that.
neglecting how you truly feel and being inauthentic.
Right, and also too, another part of that is using crutches to not allow you to go
Yes.
through it. Like we were talking today, alcohol, for example. So like I told you, I don't drink. I do not allow myself to drink if I'm feeling depressed and sad because it's not going to be my crutch. It's going to be, that's going to be like my happy place, you know?
Right.
And I don't want anyone to ever take my happy place away. I love my
Absolutely.
red wine with my red meat.
Exactly.
I love my white wine with the salmon. You know, I mean, it's just like you pair things. Like my
Exactly.
sushi cannot not have hot sake.
No, exactly. But that's what
You
I'm
know?
saying. It's like,
So you can't like overdo things.
right. But
And you
that's what
can't
I'm
use them as
learning.
crutches. But that's why I'm trying to explain to you how I've learned
Tell
in
me,
my
tell me,
life
tell me.
that using all of that as crutches is something that you're
Did you
just
say crotches? You said crotches?
As crotches. I think I just said crotch.
You did say crotch. You said plural. 1, 2 crotches. Crotches.
Is using that as a crutch.
Ooh, mira una cucaracha.
Crunch. But using that as a crutch is never a good thing. I always want to keep my happy things as my happy place
Yes.
things. And then I want to have my, sadness, go through it, even have a pity party. I'm down with pity parties. Pity parties are so good for you. Boo hoo hoo. I feel so sad that this is happening to me.
But I
I'm
feel
going to
that-
take my time and feel sad
I
about
feel
it.
that pity parties are a way for your own subconscious and your conscious to communicate and articulate some of the things that you're feeling. Where it's almost like having this pity party is not really to make you feel bad about yourself, but to calibrate and recognize and articulate these physiological feelings that you're having and bringing it out into a spoken way so that you can comprehend the cognitive process of what's really happening, right?
I totally agree with you.
Even though it feels like going down
A rabbit hole.
a slimy
Right.
tunnel where it's like,
But-
I fuck.
But you
and
have to
I
go through it in order to get over it.
Exactly.
You don't just get over it. You can't just get over things like that.
Right.
Just like I used to tell people all the time, "Oh my God, get over it." Taxi.
Exactly.
And it was like I was living in New York, and that was a thing,
But
just
I feel
constant
like
moving.
getting over it is like avoidant behavior, right?
It is
Like,
avoiding
I'm gonna
behavior.
dodge
I
that shit
never knew
'cause
I
don't
was
want-
doing that. For the longest time, I was doing that.
Yeah.
You were using that apartment as a crutch.
I realize that now, and I
Yeah.
realize that, oh my goodness, I never wanted to leave, but then I've been in Happy House 2.0 since Thanksgiving, and during the entire winter I've been there, and during the entire winter the plan was to go back to my place.
The Happy House 1.0.
Correct.
Got it.
But I started to interact with 2.0. I started to really experience what it was living on the other side, right? Everything is
Live on the wild side.
right.
for a
Everything was
minute.
different. Everything in my place was to the left. Everything in this new place is to the right. And it really
And you
felt
wake up
awkward.
and you don't know where you are.
Yes, but now I'm sleeping with my head pointing south,
Mm-hmm.
which is better for you, right? Because if you sleep with your head pointing north, the magnetic field of the earth pulls the iron of your blood up to your brain, and you get headaches and stuff like that. Exactly.
What?
You didn't know about this? So you have
Wait a
iron
minute.
in your blood.
Yes.
So when you sleep with your head pointing north, the
magnetic
field
force
of the North Pole pulls the iron from your blood up to your brain. But it only happens when you're horizontal. Not vertical, but horizontal, right?
Okay, wait a minute. So this is funny because that picture is north, west, south, and east, right?
There you go.
And when I put that up, I literally put up the compass to make sure that I put it up in the right way.
Correct.
So my head is right now facing southwest.
There you go.
So is that okay?
Yeah, that's better because that allows your blood to really just pull the other way.
Oh, because of the magnetic pull.
Right, but if you live on the southern hemisphere, like Australia or Argentina or Africa,
Argentina?
you want to sleep with your head pointing north.
Oh,
Because
okay.
if you sleep with your head pointing south, the magnetic field of the South Pole is going to pull your iron up your blood and give you headaches and stuff.
Which is really funny because look at the way that the arrows are pointing on that one too.
Yeah, that's trippy.
Yeah, it's going in collaboration with what you're saying.
Right. But what I realized in Happy House 2.0 was that I had been yearning for a change for a long time.
How long?
Oh, shit. Like,
It sounded so New York.
like,
a long
for
time.
a long time. It was like
It's been a long time.
I really wanted a change, right? But I wasn't ready for the change. I wasn't prepared for the change financially. And when I mean change, I mean buying a house.
Yeah. You're
I
not
need
talking
an
about
apartment.
renting.
I'm not talking about,
I need $6,000. No, I need
another
$100,000,
apartment, right?
motherfucker.
I need another apartment in a cool neighborhood. No, it's like, no, I need to buy a place. I want
Yeah.
to buy a place.
Well, it's time to
'Cause
grow
I
up. You know,
put
we need to buy
roots.
places now.
Exactly. But
And we need to invest and we need to have
This-
equity and we need to have some kind of stability of
right,
as
but
we get older.
this change
Getting older
allowed
so
me
much
to sort of disconnect from my apartment physically, number one. And the physical disconnection started to lead to an emotional disconnection and even a mental disconnection. I threw away all my furniture and I got all new furniture.
I need to see your place, and I can't believe you didn't call me. I'm an interior designer, for God's sake.
Well, dang, girl. Like, you know,
I get discounts.
The
I could have
Barutze
hooked.
was happening.
I
you
could have
know?
hooked you up, like,
No, but-
like.
Exactly. But the panorama's happening. So it's like, yo.
Oh, remember Living Color? What was that thing? 3 strikes and a something twist.
Oh, I don't remember. I never really watched that
You never
show.
watched Living Color?
What I did not expect was that the death of my grandfather would put everything into perspective. At that point, I realized that my own neurolinguistic programming had to change. Because I kept saying, oh, my apartment is changing. My apartment needs renovations. There's new windows in my apartment. And then I realized it's not my apartment.
Was it ever really your apartment?
It was never mine. It was a space that I was renting for a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of money, and then it clicked. I was a little ashamed that 8 years had passed, and that in those 8 years I never mobilized to go buy my place. So now,
Well, maybe you were just saving up your pretty pennies.
that too, but I was also just comfortable. I was enjoying life. I was very cushy, and I was excited to just live in this space that was very creative, but I was way too comfortable, and I felt that I needed to just shake myself out of discomfort, shake myself out of that comfort, and keep moving forward.
You just said, shake myself out of discomfort.
Right.
You said that before you said
I
out of
know.
comfort. So that says a lot right there. You're
Tell
going to
me-
shake yourself because you were in a natural state of discomfort, even though
Yes.
you're saying right now that you were so comfortable there.
Right. And I
You
was
were in such a natural state of discomfort
already.
without even knowing it.
Eek.
And now
So-
you know it because now you're not in it anymore. So it's like we do sometimes fall in love with the customary aspects of our lives more than we're falling in love with our lives.
That's a very interesting point because I got really comfortable with what my current life was like. And I was really enjoying my current life. I feel that being in this new apartment is stepping towards the future. It's a way to embrace change and a way to exit my comfort zone. I just became uncomfortable in my comfort zone. That it was no longer a comfort zone. It was like, oh, I need change, I need out. And then this forced change just became this opportunity to keep moving forward. So,
Well, I like the fact that you're admitting that you were uncomfortable in your comfort for so long.
but I
mean,
didn't
but
realize
that's
that
but
until
you were out.
Until I was out.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
exactly
realize
what I
that.
was thinking earlier.
Yeah, and the opportunity to go back was there in my hands, but the apartment was no longer the same. It was modernized to fit the renovations, but all the materials that exist for the renovations are modern day materials for a building that's 100 years old. So there's this clash of design and clash of
Well, speaking of
pictures,
design,
right?
yeah, but you can like still use the old with the new. I love to do that a lot. Like I love to take antique stuff and like put it in your home, along with like really
Absolutely.
modern things.
But if the design works,
Right.
but if there's a clash in colors and design and actual physical placements, like no.
Well, let me tell you, they really messed up on that front window situation.
Yeah.
Dividing those two windows and making it a divider in the middle between the windows, it should be a full on open
Exactly.
window. Like
It was horrible.
they should have even done like a bay window if they really wanted to increase the
Right.
value of the property, just so that way you can have a seating area on your living room space
Right.
with like really cute pillows and a comfort like cushioning. You would have had like the whole thing right there.
Yeah, but I feel
Really
like,
pretty roses out in the front. It would have like made the whole place look so different.
Right. But hey, I feel that change is a very natural thing in life. And I was also fearing the fact that I'm not really good at, I'm really good at knowing when I need change, but actually stepping into the side and jumping into the volcano, I delay for a minute because I'm like,
That's
ugh.
interesting that you visualize change as a volcano.
I mean, sometimes it is. I mean, I don't know if change is a volcano that I'm talking about, but definitely fear.
Well, it's a really good metaphor for you to use of your perception of it.
Right. Because I feel that change is definitely scary.
Not for me, actually.
But I also feel that everything good on the other side of change is also great. So are you good with change?
So that's like a major dichotomy that you're talking about right there for
Yes,
yourself.
and it's a struggle. It's a
Right.
struggle for me because it's like...
It's almost like you don't want to do it, but when you're doing it, it's like fun.
Right. It's almost like, oh my... You know how it is? It's like... This is how I see it. I live in the city, and the change I want is to get me to the beach. But between here and the beach, I have to get in my car,
Traffic.
fight traffic, find parking, get gas. There's a lot of effort that has to happen just so that I can feel the breeze on my face from the beach,
Yeah.
right? So it's the visualization of the life you want and the effort that it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Nobody really talks about that part. Everyone talks about you got to have goals and you have to visualize what you want in life, but no one really says, hey, you have to develop strategies, you have to develop techniques, you have to develop good habits, you have to develop rituals and discipline so that you can ascertain at every level everything you need to get you to your goal.
I think nobody ever says it because I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Probably not.
Do you know what I mean?
And-
Like that's
and-
something that's like people that want to become better people learn to understand that or even want to have a conversation about it.
Right.
You know, like so many people just don't care. If you were to ask my boyfriend, like, can we talk about something deep? He'd be like, shut up. Let me watch my sports. And then I'm like, he's obviously not deep. So, so there's a lot of people that just don't want to have this in-depth conversation, you
Right,
know?
and I feel like
Change.
it's
They're like,
hard.
who cares? Oh, you cut your arm? Oh, who cares? Oh, your leg is broken? Who cares? Go get it fixed. It'll be
Okay, so
fine.
I'll say this: in the whole time I lived in Happy House, you have
Okay.
lived in 3 different places that I know of.
So am I okay with change? Yes, I am definitely okay with change. I love change. Bring it on.
I love change. I love it. I think
I
it's
don't look at it
exciting.
like a volcano either, which I found very interesting that you just used that metaphor.
Well, I feel a volcano is really more about fear, not necessarily change. Because if you apply fear to anything, right? But I guess like any decision is always an opportunity for change, right?
Well, if you were to jump into a volcano, that's suicide, right? But if you were to use the metaphor of like water, if you were to jump into water, that's not suicide. You're just
But it depends what kind of
jumping.
water you're jumping into.
That's
What if
true.
you're jumping into open water in the Pacific that's shark infested?
You got me
Versus
there.
like the water.
See,
in
I
a-
wasn't thinking of the danger involved
Or
in
the
the
water
water.
of a blow up pool in your backyard when it's 107 in LA.
Yeah, motherfuckers, I'm gonna jump inside of the pool. Little kiddie pool.
Like Camarelli.
A little kiddie pool.
So yeah, it like, having change on the forefront, especially when it comes to an apartment and a phase in life, it really got me thinking about you because I've always
Aw, what about
admired
me?
you and your ability to change quickly.
It's definitely an ability.
When I see you move through life and embracing change like a surfer, riding the waves so effortlessly, where did you learn that?
Well, it took a lot of effort before it became to look effortlessly, like kind of like people that, train their whole lives for something. I literally always felt like psychology and sociology was one of my easy things to do. Like understanding the psychology of people has been very interesting to me. The sociology of how we all work together has always been very interesting to me. And in reading a lot of philosophy books, I combined all of that knowledge together and honestly just became more of a reader.
Oh, wow.
I was reading like a lot of spirituality, and putting all of it together for me, it was almost like a quest to educate myself the best of my capabilities in understanding how life can be so simple if we allow it to be. And I always felt like simplicity came from the most complex situations because I would look at something, and even as a little kid, my aunts still remind me till today, I was always the peacemaker. I was always the
When you say
one.
your aunts, do you mean your aunts?
Oh, yes, my aunts. My tias and
Your
my
tias,
tias. My aunts. They would
the
remind
sisters
me.
of your parents?
The sister of my mother.
Oh.
The sisters of my mother. They would just remind me about how I was as a kid and how I've always had this peaceful way of being and trying to create peace among people and situations and just trying to diffuse arguments.
Right.
And for me, all of that combined together was something that allowed me to realize, well, if change is inevitable and expectations are only going to make me depressed because nothing is going to ever reach your expectation. We create these expectations of what's going to happen and we don't have control over anything. So the more we don't have control over things and the more expectations we create, that's a formula for disaster.
Yeah, I think that was my problem where I was expecting the renovations to be so awesome and then
And of
They
course,
really
your
weren't.
expectations are always going to disappoint you because nothing ever turns out the way that we think that they're going to turn out. If only people said the right things that I wanted them to say. If only people acted in the way I wanted them to act towards me. If I only hear this one more time, forget about it. It's expectations.
So then how do you deprogram a lifetime of conditioning of expectations?
You start understanding that the more expectations I create, the more I'm depressing myself.
Mm.
It's literally just depression all the time. And if you're going to become depressed, I want to be impressed.
There you go. Because sometimes depression is not always like a psychological.
It's not like a psychological ailment or anything
No,
like that.
it's the actual, like, almost on an energetic level. Where it's like
Yes.
my energy's here, and right now my energy is depressed. Right? And like you said, when you are impressed, your energy shoots up.
Exactly. So that's why I got tired of feeling like me having these expectations meant I had control of something. Because we all think that we have control of things, and I'm sorry, but we don't.
Right, and that was like the biggest lesson in this situation where I was like, oh my goodness, me having to leave Happy House, I'm not in control. Then they wanted me to move back. I wasn't in control. And I got to
Well, again, because it wasn't never
my place.
yours.
And I realized
You
that-
never had control of it.
Exactly. And
You just had the expectation of it.
Exactly. And the only time I had control was when I intervened with a request to stay in 2.0, and eventually they granted it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I'm the king of my domain. I was just renting. So it became this rude awakening to discover, wow, the expectations that I have here are very limited because I don't own this place.
Right.
And it actually not only became a reflection of how I feel, but also how I am living my life. I'm not out claiming victory because I'm not employing these techniques, rituals, or good habits to get me to the beach. I want to go to the beach, but I've realized that everything that it takes to get there, I have been just skirting by with a very nonchalant, blasé attitude, and it became, the disappointment wasn't really about the apartments. It was like, oh, my grandfather died.
It's you, yeah.
My grandfather died, and now it made me realize, holy moly.
Holy moly.
I haven't been honoring myself to my fullest potential. So now I haven't even left my neighborhood to go to the beach. So it's like, oh my goodness, the habits and the techniques and the strategies for my goals aren't really in place. And it's shaking me to the core that I'm like, I got big decisions to make, right?
Get with it.
And the decisions are actually really small because it's like the commitment.
But it just takes those small decisions to make a big impact.
Exactly. It's like your teeth, right? You take care of your teeth a little bit every day, you can have a great smile. But if you neglect your teeth, and then you, like 10 years later, you're like, oh, I'm here at the dentist, and they're like, hey, dude, you suck.
You got to take all your teeth out, and we're going to give you dentures.
Exactly. So,
and then you're like, ew.
My biggest realization was that leaving Happy House 1.0 was never about the apartment.
No, it was about you.
It was about me.
And your expectations.
And how I live my life and my expectations for myself that are not being fulfilled.
Okay, so now let's talk about solutions. Now we identified the problem, right?
Right.
We identified what it is that we do to ourselves, all in our heads, actually, as a matter of fact. These thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're in full control of your thoughts, your emotions. You know, you're in full control of yourself.
Right, that's why
unless you decide not to be.
Catastrophic thinking is one of those things that becomes supernatural to me because I'm a storyteller, so I come up with all these narratives.
And also, too, let's not forget that we're artists. We're like deprived artists, you know? We're like, there's this like innate thing about an artist. It's just so like, poor me.
But is that really only exclusive to artists, or is that just the human condition that artists have the ability to portray through art, right? Because I feel like an accountant could be sitting there
Poor me
right now
during the
tax
season.
And it's like, oh, poor me.
Poor
like
me.
I'm over here crunching numbers and doing taxes for people because they don't know how to do it. Poor me.
I would hate my life at
Let
that
me
point
charge
too.
an arm and a leg.
It's very interesting that you say that because there was an TED Talks that I watched where they were talking about how if you look at everything in a perspective as art, then it will really change your life. For instance, if I'm gardening and I look at it like, how do I want to make this look beautiful? How do I make this into art? Then all of a sudden it just really changes my perspective on it instead of like, I'm just going to go garden.
Right, of course.
No, now it's like, I'm going to make this into my masterpiece.
Exactly.
There's something about looking things as artistic that make it anything. Like even if you are an accountant and a CPA, you know?
Right.
That could be your art.
And that's why, like, and now, like, I'm getting back into culinary arts, and I do feel that cooking is also an art.
Cooking is definitely an art.
And a science, too.
It is a science because, emulsifying stuff with, like, making things into different things with heat, it's
alchemy.
Yeah, it's alchemy. As a matter of fact, right next to your bed where you're going to sleep tonight is The Alchemist.
Oh, I love that book.
Have you guys read it?
I feel like Santiago all the time.
Santiago, the sheep herder.
Exactly. Is he a sheep herder or is he a borrego? No, but the borrego is, he's a shepherd.
Yes.
To close things out, I want to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yeah. Ask away.
You say you're good with change. Mm-hmm. But how did you become good with change? Like, what strategies do you have in place? You mentioned not having expectations, like, but how do you actually wield that in the face of change?
So when change is happening in my life, I just look back at the past and I know that if I made it through that, I'm going to make it through this. And it just allows me to have a different perspective in life that, the change is happening for me, not to me. And I know it's a very much cliche and a lot of people say that. And it's a lot of like, like speaking to inspire people. But for me, that's not the way it is at all. For me, it's a lifestyle. You have to change your lifestyle. Just like I can't get on a diet and be like, I'm going to be on a diet forever. No, that's going to be a lifestyle. Like you have to change your vocabulary about things. You start there because it's a mental state.
Right.
And now my vocabulary, instead of saying, oh, this is change, I'm like, this is inevitable change. It's happening. It's okay.
Right. So
it's like I expect the change. I expect the unexpected. Therefore, I'm never disappointed.
And maybe the change, even the word change can have a detrimental impact when you don't welcome the change. So I feel maybe even substituting the word with opportunity.
Well, again, it's the connotation that you're giving the word.
Correct.
So if you're giving the word a bad ailment, a bad connotation,
right,
then at that point, then change the word.
Right.
But for me, I rather change the connotation.
Right, because that's why words are important. That's why that's why the word spelling for like check your spelling is really like check the spells you're casting with your words.
And not only that, but are you only casting them with your words? Nope. You're casting them with your thoughts. You're casting them with your actions. And then you're catching them with your words.
Touché.
So it comes in threes.
Right.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Right. What about...
And everything comes in threes. Even like, the pyramids. Well, also too.
Triangle.
The triangle. Like, for whatever reason, there's something in the threes that's really important. Look at, we were talking today. We passed by that house, and everything around us was in threes.
Well, now my new address is 2010, and if you add those numbers together, it equals
That's
3.
And
right?
mine is 5133.
All right. So how do you adjust? How do you regulate your emotions when you are in a high level of stress? Like, how do you actually? If you're upset,
That's really hard because
you're
I'm
upset-
Latina, so I tend to scream. So I've been working on this, you guys. Like,
But is that
it's-
exclusive to being Latina, or is that just?
No, I think it's a girl thing sometimes. I
Is it
think it's a
exclusive to
Latina
being a girl,
thing.
though?
I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that.
Because what if I'm a boy,
And you tend to scream?
right? Or what if like a person that's not Latin? Anyway,
I don't know. My therapist told me this. She was like, "So Judy, it's very animalistic when we scream because it means that we can express ourselves the way we want."
right? You have to use your indoor voice.
So I'm like, okay, Mrs. Therapist, sir, Mrs. Sir. But
That's very 2001.
okay. Well, you know, Mrs. and Sirs are okay.
No, not like the year 2001, but Space Odyssey, right?
Oh, okay.
The movie, the book. Because it
oh.
opens with these primitive apes learning how to use tools, and they're screaming at each other, right, without speaking or articulating anything. And by the end of the movie, there's this leap of time that computer artificial intelligence outlives humanity.
Oh, that's right.
So it becomes this,
So it starts in our ape and it ends in our artificial.
and our creation of artificial intelligence.
Well, you know, are we the creators of our own destruction? And we've seen it time and time again in history. What is the reason that all great empires fail? It's greed. So, you know,
And maybe some of these empires where some people were embracing too much change or not change at all. But I feel that when there's populations, not everybody's going to agree on things, and people are going to want change.
well,
one way or another.
Well, look at everything that's happening right now. You know, it's constant change. Sometimes it's too much.
Right.
And now people's psychological health is in question. So you see a lot of things on TV like call your therapist or call for therapy. You don't feel right, you know, call.
You know, I stopped using the words mental health. I have to be
Why?
concerned about my mental health.
Why?
Because I started using the words mental fitness.
Okay, so see, this is what we're talking about, though. We're talking about how you're taking something in your mind that you've already stamped as a negative connotation
Right.
towards, and now you're starting to change the vocabulary of things. But that's the beginning stages of being able to understand that nothing really is solid forever.
Right.
So just because you interpreted it at that moment doesn't mean it's going to have the same feeling of that word for the rest of your life. This is
Right.
just a transition phase for you to understand how to deal with those words.
Right,
So you're
'cause
changing
mental
them.
health and mental fitness is the same thing, but I'm associating.
Well, it's
mental-
actually two different things. Because do you have to be mentally fit to be mentally healthy? What does mental fitness mean anyway? Like, I think of my mind like picking up weights.
Well, I feel there's certain things that happen to your brain, like someone with Alzheimer's
Oh, yeah.
might not have the same mental fitness because some of that is biological, right?
Actually, that's very interesting.
But I feel like someone who doesn't know how to manage their emotions and lets their emotions control them is also unfit. Doesn't mean that they're mentally ill, but that
Oh, no, mentally ill is a total different
Right.
word, yeah.
right.
So the same thing goes with relationships then. It's just like, you know, if I'm a sex addict, I really shouldn't be in a relationship because I'm going to fucking cheat on you.
Right. Or what if I'm not a sex addict and I just have emotional blockages and I don't know how to communicate well?
Right.
Right? Does that make me fit to be in a romantic relationship? Probably not.
Right, but who are you to determine whether it does or it doesn't? Maybe we all need therapists.
Right. But I feel like, hey, if you're going to impose your presence on someone else and their feelings might get hurt, then maybe you are the person that might be like, hey, I'm not going to get involved here. But it's a very interesting process, humanity, intellect, decision making, and especially in the face of change and creativity.
change, creativity, expectations, inevitableness,
So, in essence, what I've come to discover is this: that at this point in my life,
mindfulness.
I need a challenge. I want a challenge. I want to grow.
I think you need
learn.
to fall in love, get married, and have babies.
Sounds like a proposal. I can't even pick between 2 apartments. How am I going to be in a relationship?
Well, okay, we talked about this right before you got Lola, who we all love. Right before you got Lola, you were so scared. You were like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this? What the hell is wrong with me?" I was like, "Goose, I'm gonna tell you like this. It's scary right before it happens, but once you get her, it'll be fine."
And I feel like this is the same thing. This move into this apartment, it's scary because the change is here. And I'm initiating.
You're gonna change your interpretation of the word change.
And that's the breakthrough, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight, because the word change can be positive.
Hey.
Because change is happening for you, not to you.
I'm really glad that you closed with that, because, this whole process,
it's tough, man.
It's tough because it's been affecting my creativity in different ways, right? Sometimes I wake up and I don't want to create anything because I'm in this crux of stress. But sometimes I wake up with that same crux of stress, and all of a sudden I start creating something great. So it's not really the stress that is the catalyst for creativity. It's how I interpret the stress of that day. Right?
And you have the power to interpret it in whichever way you want.
Yeah.
So your filter is up to you.
But I love what you said. Change the perception of the word change. Wow. Judy Limon, everybody. Judy Limon. Judy Lemon.
I'm here whenever you need me, peeps. I'm a giver. I hate myself for being such a giver. My therapist tells me to stop giving so much. She tells me to stop being so cute. How can you stop being so cute? I don't know.
And looking back, I'm glad I went to that Super Bowl party, because I never would have met you.
Me too, babe. I'm glad I met you too.
And we're able to create movies together. And
movies and write scripts and
social media content.
Social media content.
Because it's a little incriminating.
You know what I mean? I don't know what we mean. We know what we mean.
I know what you mean.
I know what you mean, too.
She's going to stay on the cloud.
Bye, cloud.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. I wish you guys can see the sun. I mean, the moon. It looks like the sun.
It looked really good today. The moonrise and the sunset together was dope.
Okay, so we literally went to go watch the sunset. And while we were watching the sunset, on one side, the moon was like huge. And on the other side, the sun was equally as huge. And they were both like in tandem, just like doing their thing, you know?
I felt like we were in some kid's science experiment. Like if we live in a simulation.
Redondo Beach it's almost like you're like in Italy somewhere. I don't know.
It's like
I don't know.
Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
I wonder if like stargazing is good over here.
Oh my God, it's so good. Because especially in Palos Verdes, like you can see everything. We should go. Not tonight, but we'll go. Not tonight, but
we'll go.
We take you guys with us, but the freaks come out at night, so I don't really want to see that.
When she says freaks, she means us.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Another high glass. Thank you.
Another high glass to
in your casa. I like your your house.
Yeah, I no longer live in an apartment. I live in a house. Everybody. Oh my God. I think I'm growing up.
I don't want to grow up.
I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's many toys at Toys R Us that I could play with. From high school games to video games. It's the biggest toy store there was. I don't want to grow up. I learned just like this. I want to be a Toys R Us kid. I don't want to grow up. Don't want to grow up. I want to be a Toys R Us kid. Boop.
Rest in peace, Toys R Us.
Rest in peace, Toys R Us.
They're gone now.
Oh, yeah. Adios.